Thank you for choosing KTN. Rising insecurity is causing concern among investors and ordinary Kenyans who fear the situation could escalate as the general election draws closer. Now, the matter is taking center stage in the ongoing political campaigns. And as KTN's Asha Mwelo reports, the government is moving to restore fast-fading public confidence in its ability to guarantee security.
Kenya's military entry into Somalia to flush out the outlawed Al-Shabaab militia was followed by a series of retaliatory attacks across the country. KDF's long-awaited triumph in capturing the port city of Kismayu and paralyzing the group's operations was the final stroke for Al-Shabaab's recruits and sympathizers deeply rooted in the country. Business premises, bars, places of worship, public transport vehicles would all become the targets of the sporadic attacks. By the end of November, more than 60 Kenyans had been killed in the series of grenade attacks in Nairobi, Mombasa and Garissa. And drastically, the political conversation was changed.
Taifa ni taifa. Na taifa haliwezi kuwa taifa ikiwa hatuwezi kuhakikisha usalama wa watu wetu.
And we'd like to appeal to the government to make sure that our servicemen who have a calling to serve this country are properly equipped and given the necessary resources in order to handle the situation.
This level of insecurity will definitely have a serious dent on investors who want to come to our country, tourists who want to come to our country.
So far, President Kibaki has approved the formation of an inquiry into the killings of security officials in Baragoi and Garissa. Additionally, Parliament's Defense and Internal Security Committees are jointly looking into the incidents. This is, however, not enough for Kenyans. A recent survey released by InfoTrack highlights security as the most critical issue Kenyans would want the government to act on, evidence of the nation's declining confidence in the government's security agents. And now, seemingly in efforts to restore public confidence, the government has laid off all chiefs and their assistants in Garissa, citing laxity in the war against the Al-Shabaab. Rising insecurity has dominated political campaigns and is likely to become a deciding factor in next year's general elections. But in the midst of all this, strong allegations have been made concerning the likelihood of politicians having links to some of these attacks.
This conflict, you cannot rule out a political angle in it. And we are investigating seriously any politician.
Whether or not political activities can be linked to the insecurity in the country remains vague. For now, the keen eye of the voter is focused on who genuinely has the political will to turn Kenya back into the safe haven she was once upon a time accredited for. Asha Mwelo, KTN, Sunday night.
Nurses have threatened to paralyze operations in all public hospitals beginning next week if the government does not address their grievances. The Kenya National Union of Nurses has issued a 7-day strike notice demanding, among other things, the registration of their union and the implementation of their salaries and allowances collective bargaining agreement. KTN's Angel Katusia reports on the looming showdown.
They came in solidarity, ready to push for their members' welfare. The nurses' leadership, drawn from the Kenya National Union of Nurses, Kenya Progressive Nurses Association, and the National Nurses Association of Kenya, gave the government a 7-day notice to address their grievances, failure to which the government should brace itself for a countrywide mass action that could paralyze health services in hospitals.
The nurses of this country in the public sector, come that 2012 December, all public health facilities will not have a single nurse.
The union's leadership claimed negotiations with the government in the last 3 months have stalled, and the government has intentionally failed to address any single issue presented by the unions. Top in the list of the demands is to have the Kenya National Union of Nurses registered with immediate effect. The union also wants all nurses on contract employed, redesignation and promotion to deserving nurses, appointment of director of nursing services, and stoppage of union remittance that they claim are illegal.
that the National Labour Board of Kenya can be bought by a few shillings to deny us our rights. We are saying even billions of shillings will be bought everywhere. But the nurses, our bleeding hearts, will stop at nothing.
The unions are also demanding immediate implementation of all approved allowances. They want 5,000 shillings uniform allowance, non-practice allowance of 30,000 shillings, commuter allowance of 15,000 shillings, risk allowance of 20,000 shillings, and 30,000 shillings for those working in surgical theatres, and a call allowance of 10,000 shillings to all nurses.
The unions are not only worried about the welfare of their members only. They want the government to commit to equip all health facilities across the country for nurses to be able to offer quality and best services to Kenyans.
The union says the government should also commit to employ more nurses as the country faces a shortage of 49,245 nurses. Nurses are responsible for the bulk of several services in health centers. The highest paid nurse, who is the chief nurse, takes home an estimated 80,000 shillings, with the lowest, which are the majority, taking home 16,000 shillings. Angel Katuso for KTN, Sunday night.
Time for the politics, and pressure is mounting on Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka to join forces with Prime Minister Raila Odinga ahead of the 2013 presidential election. Kangundo MP Johnston Muthama took an ODM team to Machakos, where they called on Kalonzo to follow Justice Minister Eugene Wamalwa and ditch the so-called G7 alliance immediately. KTN's Noah Otieno reports.
Johnston Muthama and his new friends in ODM are seeking to entrench a new tune in their encroachment into Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka's backyard. The ODM and Wiper chants are part of what the team is pushing for: a union of Kalonzo Musyoka and Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And they appear emboldened by the continued isolation of Kalonzo Musyoka from the original G7 alliance.
Wamalwa amenua nanga. Mama Ngilu yuko jana anakuja. Kitambo miezi mitatu zijazo. Hiyo kundi itakuwa imebaki peke yao.
Muthama has opened the back door to let in the ODM platoon, even as Kalonzo maintains that he is not yet ready to work with the Prime Minister. Undoubtedly one of Kalonzo's most vocal allies, Muthama has persisted in his calls to Kalonzo to counter the emerging Uhuru Ruto alliance and join forces with Raila.
Sisi tunaongea na kuzungumza sio kwa niaba ya jamii hii au jamii hii, lakini tunaongea kutokana na ujuzi na uwezo ambao una viongozi wale ambao tunataka kuweka pamoja waende mbele kama Wakenya. Na kama hawajasikia sasa wasikie. Hatutahacha jiwe hata moja kabla lijapinduliwa na kujua chini yake kuna nini.
Hata asante peke yake hakuna. Ukiona Kalonzo huyu aliokuwa jahazi wakati ilikuwa inazama, zilikuwa imezama. Lakini asante amepata ni nini? Hata tu kusema asante ndugu yangu sitakupea, lakini asante peke yake hakuna.
Raila na Mheshimiwa Kalonzo wakae sasa, wapange serikali ambayo itachaguliwa tarehe 4 Machi, au sio? Na leo nasikia
mimi najua ya Kalonzo akichaguliwa akienda mbele ya Obama atasema this is a man, this is a diplomat, this is a leader. Because he has a good track record. Hakuna uwizi, hakuna ukora, na pia amekuwa mzalendo ambaye ameonyesha vile nchi inatakiwa iongozwe. If Raila is elected the president of the Republic of Kenya, ataleta heshima katika nchi yetu ya Kenya.
The Machakos rally, which was part of Johnston Muthama's ongoing rallies to popularize his aspirations for the Senate race, took place as Kalonzo himself was receiving the visiting Malawian Vice President Kumbo Hastings Kachali in Nairobi. Kalonzo is actively pursuing a pre-election pact with UDF presidential aspirant Musalia Mudavadi. Noah Otieno, KTN, Sunday night.
And a day after he ditched the Uhuru-Ruto axis, Saboti MP Eugene Wamalwa pitched tent in his Western Kenya backyard, insisting he was edged out with no good reason. Uhuru and Ruto were back to the drawing board as they sought a replacement for the Saboti MP. KTN's Arun Cheng reports on the very latest development on the political front.
A day after cracks emerged in the union between Uhuru Kenyatta and Eugene Wamalwa, KTN has learnt of a quick move by both sides to move on and seek new partners other than mending fences. In the Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto lineup, Eugene Wamalwa was slated for House Speaker or Majority Leader in Parliament. But that now appears scuttled. Uhuru and Ruto held closed-door talks to discuss the departure of Wamalwa. Sources close to the Sunday afternoon meeting tells KTN that Water Minister Charity Ngilu may be the new replacement for Eugene Wamalwa. Ngilu's main task in the unity will be to deliver the Kamba vote and also that of women. Ngilu is also seen as an ideal choice to handle Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka's influence in the eastern region. As Uhuru and Ruto discussed the way forward, Eugene was doing the same in Navajo grounds in Kakamega, where a possible Western Union could be on the final stages of reality. The rally that was attended by Wamalwa together with Lugari Member of Parliament Cyrus Jirongo resolved to put individual interests aside and come up with a single presidential candidate from the Luhya community who will battle it out with other presidential candidates.
Nikiongea na Uhuru na Ruto wanasema Wamalwa, wewe kura yako ni nusu, mumegawanyika. Musali akienda huko akiongea na Kalonzo anamwambia kuwa namba 2 wangu sababu kura yako imegawanyika.
We have demonstrated tunaweza kufanya na Wakenya wengine. We want them to demonstrate wanaweza fanya kazi na sisi. Na tunasema mtu asiseme nimeenda kwa hii group, nimeshindwa, nimekuwa namba 2. Hatutaki.
Also reaching out to voters was Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who spent his Sunday afternoon in Kawangware grounds in Dagoretti constituency, Nairobi County, campaigning for his presidential bid. The PM asked Nairobi residents to ignore tribe as they vote in next year's election.
Kama Obama alikuja kusimama hapa, ungempigia kura? Singine ungesema huyo ni Mjaluo. Sivyo? Angalieni, mimi nasema wale ambao wanaleta siasa ya ukabila ni wapumbavu.
Tunataka katiba itekelezwe to the letter and spirit.
Kumbuka, uwezi kupigia kura kama kwako uko na suspect. Uwezi kulete kwako.
In Kieni, UDF presidential hopeful Musalia Mudavadi was on the campaign trail. He warned that no one can dictate to Kenyans whom to elect as president.
Uamuzi wa kuchagua rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ni wako, sio uamuzi wa mtu mwingine. Wewe usingojee mtu mwingine kuja kukuambia utachagua nani kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Kenya National Congress presidential candidate Peter Kenneth took his campaigns to the county of Nyamira and urged Kenyans to vote out politicians who have formed tribal alliances in an effort to ascend to power.
Hakuna pahali ukabila utajenga taifa. Miungano ambayo ni ya kikabila, wengine wanasema usipojiunga nao utaangamia. Sisi tunataka miungano ambayo italeta Wakenya pamoja.
KANU's national chairman Gideon Moi is also making the stand of the former ruling party known on the alliance formations that are taking place within the political circles. Moi says Kenyans should make informed decisions before casting their votes and warned of alliances formed on tribal grounds. Pitching camp in the coastal region for the entire weekend was NARC Kenya's Martha Karua. Speaking in Malindi Sunday afternoon, the Flower Party's presidential hopeful said the country has remained behind economically as a result of massive corruption by leaders.
Wanaingia hapa wakiwa na pesa nyingi, hata kule kwa mkutano yao utapatiwa pesa. Kila kitu ni pesa. Wewe unahongwa na pesa ambazo ni zako.
Aaron Ktn, Sunday Night Live.
And remember, these parties just have a couple of days left before they must submit pre-election coalition pacts to the party's registrar. Let's move on now. And following the tragic killings of 42 police and other officers in the Suguta Valley 2 weeks ago, KTN sent a team to bring you updates from the location. And as Sophia Wanuna reports, behind every story, there's a story. And this is the behind-the-scenes story of the Baragoi conflict.
All right, so 42 police officers had been killed in Suguta Valley in Baragoi, that's in Samburu County. And that is the biggest single attack on the police force since Kenya attained her independence. And one of the things we were told is that some of the bandits are spread out in the area. So they're wild animals. In fact, at some point, a beautiful sight of elephants, you know, crossing. It was so beautiful being able to witness that. I'd never witnessed anything as beautiful as that. But at the same time, the ever-present danger. So we had to get police escorts to be ahead of us. A good thing and a bad thing at the same time, you have security and you're thinking, yes, you're safe. But at the same time, if the bandits were to spot you and they spot the police officers, these are the people they, you know, had just killed. And so they'd think these police officers are out for an offensive once more. And so it was also risky still having the police officers with us. But we traveled safe. By 4 a.m. we were all, you know, set. We left from Marilal and we were driving to Baragoi. The road again, treacherous terrain.
This is where it all began, the latest spate of killings. This abandoned village was once inhabited by the Turkana community. Now, about 3 weeks ago, the Samburu came here in a retaliatory attack and took away 55 of their camels. However, in that incident, 12 of the Samburu were killed.
As we were leaving, as much as it was abandoned, some tiny inhabitants had been left there. And so we were to realize that they had left with us, on us, fleas. It was now heading towards Suguta Valley. What was I thinking at the time? I was thinking about getting this story. I was thinking about getting to this place where these officers were killed and being able to show Kenyans this is where it all happened. So we got to where, as far as the vehicles could go, because the terrain now had become really rugged. There's no clear path and the rocks are huge. So we had to abandon our vehicles and put on our protective gear that is heavy. We set out Suguta Valley, just the standard group team. We had Muhammad Ali, my colleague from the Swahili department, cameraman Sam. We also had the standard newspaper team, determined to get to Suguta Valley. The whole time, what kept me going is we have to get to Suguta Valley, and this story has to be told today. Okay, so it was about a 4-hour walk. I won't kid you, I won't lie to you, it was hard. It was exhausting. The whole time I was thinking, God, be with us. It's an area that has very dangerous snakes. But at the time, I did not want to allow myself to focus on that. And at the same time, it was unknown to us then that the bandits were just a few kilometers from where they'd committed the killings, but later we found out. And so we're in dangerous territories. 4 bodies were recovered that day. And they had decomposed. And so the whole area, you know, it was the stench coming from that place was hard to bear. So we're traveling with the bodies. Hard, but we were able to pull through, we were able to deliver the story. Also, the sending of the story was a story in its own, but we managed. And so some very heartbreaking stories from the police officers. They were very unhappy. You could tell that they were demoralized a lot. So the days we had to travel from Marilal to Baragoi, we do about 8 hours. It's about 4 hours drive to and from. But we're glad to be back home. We're glad to have told the story. Ktn was the first to arrive there, the first to leave. And for me, it's really about the team. We had a great team. On a stopover for a short call, there was music playing in the vehicle, and people just started dancing. So it was interesting. It was a light moment, you know, to dance, and job done. Heading back home, we're still safe, although we're still somewhere in the middle of nowhere. The CEO called us, Sam Chalet, and to just say that we're doing a great job. It was really a highlight. And he spoke to everybody, the entire team. They're just telling guys, you're doing a great job. Are you okay? Take care. So that was really good of him. So the Standard Group Limited family, a great family indeed. Our promise to our viewers that we'll keep telling their stories. No matter where they are, KTN, you can trust, we'll be there and bring you the very latest, even and as when it happens.
Indeed, the lengths we go to bring you the story. Now, if you're planning to go on holiday on the Kenyan coast, you might want to pay attention to this. Fishermen in Mombasa caught a rare fish species that is known to be the most venomous in the world. Now, the tricky bit is that the stonefish, as its name suggests, looks like a stone, changing color to suit its environment as camouflage, and it likes to burrow in the sands of the beach. Now, this means that humans can very easily step on it and get injected with that venom. KTN's Ansoy Mwendia reports.
Mid-morning in the old town of Mombasa, and these fishermen are in awe. A rare catch this is. The stonefish is more common in the Pacific waters, but occasionally Kenyan fishermen capture the ugly, deadly and hardy creature. Hardy because the stonefish can live outside water for 24 hours. Akbar Khana, the chairman of the Old Town Fishermen Association, decided to warn potential tourists about the species whose venom is known to cause so much pain that its victims opt for amputation.
Karibuni kwa holiday yenu, lakini mkienda barini, mkiona samaki kama hii iko juu ya beach, usikanyage wala asishike.
The fishermen were already planning to eat the venomous fish. Rashid Anam Okech is a fish biologist at the Kenya Marine Fisheries Research Institute. He says there's no harm in eating cooked stonefish.
In Kenya, we are very safe with the fish because we overcook things. Poison is protein in nature, and once you expose it to a lot of heat, it dies.
Okech says the stonefish can also be a good companion at home.
This animal, apart from being food, it is a very good aquarium fish. It is a pet. You can keep it in your aquarium.
The only danger it poses is when it burrows in coastal sand when the tide is low. It is easy to mistake it for a piece of rock or even a coral because of its camouflage ability. This property makes people walking on the beach vulnerable should they step on it.
So always when you go to the beach, particularly if you will enter the water, try to wear something.
The footwear has got to be tough enough to withstand the lethal injection. Okech says the stonefish is common in coral reefs. Its appearance helps it feed on small fish that swim by and cannot distinguish the predator from corals. Ansoy Mwendia, KTN Sunday Night.
A little creepy. Be careful during the holidays. Now, when those against the proposed constitution claimed that it allowed abortion, the Committee of Experts in Legal Minds dismissed those claims. 2 years on, the Ministries of Health have launched an abortion drug and a guideline on how to procure an abortion. Now, in the last part of the series, Abortion to Be or Not to Be, KTN's Catherine Umwanto explores the legal ambiguities surrounding this emotive topic.
Many mothers who have gone through abortion and they live a life of desperation.
In 2010, pro-life activists marched the streets of Parliament Road, demanding that Parliament make an amendment to the then proposed constitution to completely disallow abortion. At the time, John Cardinal Njue took the opportunity to make his homilies about the pro-life debate.
For goodness sake, our dear politicians, we have told you life starts with conception.
This pressure mounted, and the Constitutional Committee of Experts decided to enshrine within the Constitution that life begins at conception. But here's the catch. While the constitutional experts granted pro-life activists their wish, they did not change Section 26, subsection 4 of the Constitution under the Bill of Rights.
Article 26, subsection 4 of the Constitution still states that abortion is only permitted if a health professional deems it best in the case of an emergency, or if the mother's life is in danger, or if it's permitted by any other law.
And this officially makes abortion ambiguous in Kenya.
Referendum. Yeah.
Dr. Nyamu is no stranger to controversy. In the past, he has been arrested for allegedly assisting women to procure abortions. However, curiously, even under the old constitution, Nyamu has never been prosecuted.
My colleagues have been harassed by police. They just go and arrest them and then they release them after paying a bribe.
But it's not just Nyamu and other gynecologists who have had in and outs with the police. Women who have procured botched abortions are delivered to the Kenyatta National Hospital and other public hospitals. They too are never arrested or tried.
Of course, now everybody knows that abortion is allowed and there's no woman who can be arrested.
The old constitution made abortion difficult. It stated that an abortion can only be procured in the presence of a professional doctor and 2 witnesses. And because of this, most women opted to procure abortions themselves or by the help of medical quacks. Rarely would they go to professional health workers, and it would be a handful of doctors who were brave enough to grant this wish to women. The current constitution seems to be a little more lenient on abortion, particularly because of its open-ended provisions. Just who is a health professional? And just how does he or she decide when to procure an abortion? What exactly is an emergency? When is a woman's life said to be in danger? And which of the laws are these that permit abortion? As many ponder on these questions, the Ministry of Medical Services has launched the guidelines on how to procure an abortion. According to the Ministry of Medical Services and the Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board, an abortion can only be procured within the first 12 weeks of a pregnancy, that is the first trimester, and it can be done in 2 ways.
This tablet is the one which normally terminates the pregnancy. It's called it used to be called a French abortion pill or RE486, but these days the name is mifepristone. That is on the first day. Then on the 3rd day, the woman is supposed to take 4 tablets of misoprostol, and this one, the MVA or manual vacuum aspiration, is a process whereby you create a vacuum with a handheld syringe like that, and you use a small cannula which you put inside the uterus through the cervix after giving local anesthetic. This one is a manual vacuum aspiration process, and then you just release the vacuum like that, and then the vacuum sucks the blood into the syringe.
On the 20th of November 2012, Miscoclear and mifepristone were officially launched in the market by the Ministry of Medical Services and the Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board. The drugs come with conditions. The gynecologist must counsel the women who come to their clinics prior to the abortion, and they must not allow a woman to procure an abortion more than once. But who is the gatekeeper?
Actually, hii imekuwa biashara sasa.
Though only qualified medical practitioners will have access to the abortion drugs, there are fears that the new drugs can eventually leak and end up being misused, just like the emergency pill.
So we see our young ladies out there taking emergency contraceptive pill like it's a sweet, every weekend, and emergency contraceptive pill, for instance, was meant for emergency. Emergency do not happen every Saturday or every Sunday or every Friday.
So is it a matter of sexual irresponsibility or that of a society that has chosen to bury its head in the sand when it comes to sexual and reproductive health?
Every person should know that in terms whenever they have sex, there's always a consequence. So either you will get pregnant, or you get HIV/AIDS, or you get a sexually transmitted infection, which can eventually block the tubes.
Our guideline says that when the woman comes to the hospital with an abortion or an abortion complication, they must live with a family planning method.
Some would argue that the high rate of abortion has been occasioned by the fact that the government has not invested in reproductive health. The average Kenyan girl becomes sexually active by the age of 15, and analysts say more needs to be done than just providing contraceptives. Abortion is an emotive issue tied to moral standings in tight circumstances. It's an issue that splits nations down the middle, from America to Britain to right here in Kenya. But observers still point to the chilling facts that 300,000 women will procure an abortion this year, and that 3,000 of them will die. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
Is the the story of a young woman who killed the other woman in her husband's life. The judges spared her life imprisonment on grounds that she gave birth while behind bars. KTN's crime and investigative reporter Dennis Ansarego has more.
At only 24, she had killed, lost a child she had delivered while in prison, and lost a husband she had fought so hard to keep. A story of a woman who says given a second chance, she could not have killed the other woman in her marriage. The State versus Mary Wanjiru. This is Case Files. Mary Wanjiru's murder trial made it to national news, so did her sentencing after 4 years of lengthy court proceedings. Langata Women's Prison will now be a temporary home for the next 6 years. Wanjiru killed not because she wanted to, she claims, but because she was forced to. It all started on the 2nd of December 2008.
Tulijuana kupitia, tulikuwa tumeenda sherehe ingine ilikuwa kwao. Huyo kazini yake akaniarika. Venye aliniarika ndio tulijuana na huyo bwana wangu kwao.
So mkaanza ku-go out?
Ndio tukaanza ku-go out. Tukajuana kwa miaka 3, tukajuana kabisa. Ndio ikafika sehemu tukaoana.
Wanjiru had been married for some time to John Wainaina, a man who worked as a mechanic in Thika Town. But the man had another life, one that Wanjiru only came to learn about when she was 3 months pregnant.
Sijai suspect. Wakati tukiendelea na kesi ndio nilijua ati alikuwa best ya bwana yangu.
Na walikuwa go out for long?
Walikuwa wameenda for long juu kwa venye wazazi wake wali witness, nikawa walikuwa pamoja, afu hiyo walikuwa ati wana fight, ndio wazazi wao wakawachanisha.
What John never told Wanjiru was that he had married and stayed for 2 years with a Miriam Jambi Kimani, a woman whose life she will brutally end with a kitchen knife.
Okay, kulingana na venye aliingia, yeye ndiye aliingia vibaya. Manake nikaa alikuwa ananijua mimi, kwa sababu kwa hiyo mabishana yenye tulikuwa tunabishana, aliweza kuniambia ati kwamba aliishi kuniongojea nje. Lakini mimi hiyo venye niligundua niko na mimba, siko nataka kutembea. Nilikuwa na uvivu wa hiyo mimba. Sasa nilikuwa sote niko kwa nyumba na nimelala. Sasa venye alikuja nikaa mtu alikuwa ananijua na alikuwa na machungu na mimi. Kwa sababu venye alikuja aliniambia, kumbe ndio unafanyaga, kumbe ni wewe unafanyaga hata siku hizi chali yangu asitusionane. Ndio sasa kwa hiyo kubishana akaniambia nitoke nje, akamwambia stoki. Ndio tukaanza kubishana akisema ati ninaringa na huyo chali ndio mtu wake, ati ni mtu wake, mimi ni mtu tu wa kushikilia, ati yeye ndio bibi yake. Ndio wakati ule alinishika kaa kunisukuma nje, ndio tulianza kubisha nilimwambia sitoki. Nikampiga kofi ndio naye akakasirika, tukaanza kupigana. Ndio sasa unaona yeye ndiye alikuja kwa njia mbaya. Angekuja kama mtu mzuri tuongee, tungeelewana. Maana sikuwa nimekaa kwa ndoa sana, ningemuondokea. Lakini kulingana na venye alikuja, nikaa ni mtu alikuwa anakuja kuniua. Alikuwa na hiyo nia ya kuniua, maana venye alikuja si mtu mzuri.
Wanjiru says the intention was not to kill Njambi, who she hardly knew existed. All she wanted, she says, was to protect herself and her unborn child.
Hakuanguka mara hiyo. Maana hata venye nilimdunga, nilistuka kuona damu, lakini bado hata wakati walikuwa wanang'ang'ana na mimi. Lakini mimi nilistuliwa na ile damu kuona. Maana hiyo kitu ilinitendekea sijawahi iona kutoka utoto wangu. Sasa hiyo venye niliona damu nilistuka, ikawa saa hiyo ndio bwanangu aliingia.
And at the trial, the man she had fought so hard to keep admitted that yes, indeed, he had been married to Miriam Jambi for some time. But how Jambi knew where the couple stayed is one question that has nagged Wanjiru for the last 4 years now. Wanjiru did not deny stabbing Miriam Jambi, but she insists to date that the killing was never intentional. Wanjiru told the court that she was just provoked into killing because someone came knocking on a marriage life she had toiled to grow and maintain. The court, however, laid the murder squarely on Wanjiru. That time she was 9 months pregnant. The conditions in remand prison were unbearable, but there was more to come.
Kwa ngumu sana. Kwa ngumu kumlea. Manake shida za chakula. Nini? Kwa ngumu sana. Ndio venye nilifungwa nikaona sitatoboa naye. Nikampeana nyumbani. Sana. Kami sana, lakini ingebidi manake nikienda kazi siwezi mwacha. Maana anakuwa na shida ya kukula chakula. So, ikuwa ngumu manake hata babake hakuwa na kama. Sawa ukiwa juu maziwa tupeagwe kila siku. Mtoto wangu alikuwa na shida ya kukula chakula. Sasa ilikuwa inabidi afanye kibarua kwa wengine ndio tupate maziwa ya kumpea.
The husband went a step further. He became a state witness and testified against the very woman he claimed to have loved. The woman who had killed to keep him as a husband.
Alikuja akasema ati ya kwamba venye aliingia ati aliniona nikimdunga. Unajua alikuwa amemwambia ati manake ni mimi na yeye tulikuwa huko venye aliingia ati sasa itakuwa hata yeye akuje ni jela, lakini kwa ajili ya hiyo ndiye akatoa ushahidi wa uongo. Alisema nilishangaa manake sikuwa na imagine ni uongea kitu ya uongo.
After 4 years behind bars, a young daughter by her side, the High Court concluded what was arguably one of the most compelling crime or passion trials. The verdict, guilty as charged. The courts placed her at the scene of the December murder. She was the woman who stabbed Miriam Njambi 3 times on the back with a kitchen knife that she had moments earlier used to slice an orange. But the fact that Wanjiru was pregnant when she committed the murder appears to have worked in her favor. A medical doctor in his evidence told the court, when a lady is pregnant, she undergoes both physical and mental changes. She becomes anxious and fearful about the pregnancy. The fear is that of the unknown, and it's influenced by the woman's hormonal changes. At that stage, the lady can be moody and irritable. She may behave irrationally due to the upsurge in hormonal changes. Even if a woman who is pregnant could behave irrationally due to her hormonal changes, there is absolutely nothing to suggest that the pregnancy of the accused did cause her to behave irrationally. As the doctor conceded, pregnancy does not predispose a woman to commit criminal offenses. As a result, Wanjiru was convicted for the murder of Miriam Njambi, but the judge spared her the mandatory death sentence, instead sending her behind bars for a 6-year jail term, saying, having taken into account the circumstances under which the offense was committed, the length of the time that the accused has already spent in custody, and the fact that she has a young child who was born in custody, I find the death sentence uncalled for. Looking back, Wanjiru says she wishes she had just walked away, since killing a fellow human being, she says, was the last thing on her mind.
Hapana. Hata wakati huo ni venye huyo alikuja hivyo, singempigania, angekuja kwa njia mzuri anieleze. Mimi kutoka tu ningetoka.
Chantel is now 4 years old, not with her mother behind bars, but under the care of the grandmother. A painful separation Wanjiru will have to face for the next 5 years.
Nataka kuambia wanisamehe. manake sikutaka kunua, wanisamehe. Naomba tu msamaha, wanisamehe.
For now, she has to serve the time for the crime she committed. Next on Case Files, a story of a young woman who killed her cousin by setting her on fire after she discovered she was having an affair with her husband. Dennis Zarigo for Case Files.
Let's move on to another different set of decisions that were made and formed 14 years ago. Parapet Cleaning Services has grown to be one of the leading cleaning service outfits in the country. Tonight on Money and Power, we focus on Alex Kenywa, the founder of the Parapet Group.
Whether it is your home environment or if you work in a small office or corporate building, professional cleaning services are convenient and necessary in this day and age. It actually goes beyond basic housekeeping tasks like dusting, vacuuming, mopping, etc. to give the assurance that your work or home environment is taken care of to ensure that you're able to concentrate on other tasks. It is with this in mind that in 1997, Alex Mugo came up with the idea of starting a company that addressed this challenge.
We have an enthusiastic team that is committed and that is driven, self-driven, more or less. I mean, we have operations running 24 hours a day.
But Nyaga's path of carving a niche in professional cleaning services hasn't been without its fair share of challenges. Having just come back from study and work in Switzerland, the idea was initially to get into the hotel business. But with the hospitality industry going through a rough patch at the time, the idea of cleaning services was born.
Now we had to rethink about either getting coming to work for an establishment where you were suffering in business, and neither could you think of setting up your own, be it a restaurant or anything, because business was not good at that time. So we thought of other allied services that would complement hotel management, learning faculties, and that's why now housekeeping came along.
Alex spent a better part of his life abroad honing his skills. He attained a degree in hotel management from the École La Rochelle, Switzerland, as well as an Associate of Science degree in food and beverage management from the New England Associate Hotel of Management Schools in the USA. The 3-year course in Switzerland included housekeeping, laundry, landscaping, and highlighted aspects required for running a successful hotel and restaurant business. The expectation at the time was that he would come back and at least have his foot in the hospitality industry. No wonder then that when the idea of starting Parapet Cleaning Services was floated to friends and family, it was met by skepticism.
Actually, a lot of my friends in my family were like, "Hey, really? You want to be a cleaner?" At that point, it was not making sense. And even a lot of people still get surprised about who have seen the journey that we've come through up to date, getting very surprised that they actually did not realize the potential of this particular business.
From modest beginnings, the business has been able to evolve. From the lone client in 1997 to the over 30 corporate institutions and individual clients that continue to sign up to the business. It is for this reason then that the experience has been humbling for him and eye-opening into what else can be achieved in the industry.
We never forget where we started from. So even the single carpet that used to be brought in those many years ago, we're still doing it today. The car cleaning, a detailed car cleaning that we do at our Wilson Airport offices, we still do it up to today.
The company has enjoyed relative success over the years and has been named among the top 100 mid-sized companies in Kenya for the last 3 years running. This, the CEO says, is down to innovating and developing solutions for their clients.
One of the things Parapet does is to package itself as a one-stop shop. And a bit for us being known for commercial property cleaning, we also offer other allied services that help build up that portfolio of being able to ensure that we're giving a one-stop shop service. So we have services such as washroom care, that's through the sanitary bins, and other washroom-related services. There is also gardening and landscaping. We have fumigation and pest control, garbage collection and waste management services.
With the success made in the business, Alex has never shied away from giving back to the community. Despite his relatively young age, he is the president of the Rotary Clubs of Kenya that brings together business and professional leaders to provide humanitarian services and help build goodwill.
I'm a philanthropist. I love giving, and I think through Rotary International, I'm a Rotarian, and Rotary the world over, I mean, is an organization of like-minded people who do good in the world and who believe in integrity and being able to preach peace throughout the world.
As I wind up my interview with Alex, I inquire whether it's all about making money or accomplishing a set of goals, and the advice he has for upcoming entrepreneurs.
You have a role to play in your world. I mean, it's just for you to be able to create your own destiny and what you want to be remembered for when you depart. So I think what's important is that you ask yourself, I mean, what was your relevance in the world when you were there at that point? And then from there on, you'll be able to ask yourself, what do I want to be remembered for? And once you fulfill all those things and write them down and then now kick them off your bucket list, I mean, those are the things that you need to actually start fulfilling now.
Money and Power in association with Johnny Walker.
Defending men's basketball champions Cooperative Bank are set to defend their title after advancing to the semi-finals. The bank has credited their account with a second 75-66 victory, that against former champions Ulinzi. Coop Bank joined USIU in the semi-finals. Women's title holders Eagle Wings also qualified alongside USIU and the Cooperative Bank ladies.
Cooperative Bank picked up from where they had left when they won their opening quarter-final match, and Titus Musembi started them off with the 2 points in the opening minutes in front of their partisan followers. And soon they had banked 8 points. Ulinzi, with their guns ready to fire, missed their target time and again. But Dieta Okoth lifted the former champions with 2 quick 3-pointers. Brian Mabonga jumped outside the arc to show the bangers, but the title holders were not cowed. While Musembi forayed into Ulinzi territory, Tony Abando found the target 3 times. Eugene Genga too added 8 points for a 35-20 lead at half-time. The Bangers had built an unassailable lead by the end of the third quarter, which was won by Ulinzi 1916, but Coop Bank covered any remaining ground to seal victory and a ticket to the semi-finals. USIU women won 45-35 against Shimba. Cooperative Bank women defeated Western Daylight, while USIU defeated Strathmore 76-67 in extra time after tying 61-all at regulation time. Joshua Kimboy, KTN Sports Today.
Lucas, who has been impressive throughout the season, was crowned the winner, though he did not emerge victorious during the final day at the Jamhuri Park today. Baldev Chagar was the winner of the 9th leg.
Rally driver Baldev Chagar may not have won the 2012 National Autocross Championships, but he is a force to reckon with in the motorsport arena despite getting into autocross midway through the season. Chagar clocked 6 minutes 3.95 seconds to win the 9th and last round of the National Autocross Championships following a brilliant display at the Jamhuri racetrack. But the 2008 Kenya Rally champion had to contend with playing second fiddle to Kyle Lucas, who was crowned the 2012 champion after managing 122 cumulative points, while Samir Khan and Charles Mugo tied in the championship with 99 points to finish second and third respectively.
Yeah, maybe we'll try and do a few upgrades, and might think of doing the cross-country challenge and the raids. So we wanted to make something that can do both.
The 2012 season may go down as one of the toughest in the autocross season that left some drivers disappointed while others were left with wrecked machines. Today's win was Chagar's third in a row in his Subaru buggy.
It's been 50-50, although it's been actually, the one which was not rough was in Eldoret, but Nyanyuki was it was raining. Then when we came to Suswa, it was rough, really rough.
We just come and do it for fun. Sometimes I enter it and I don't ask for scoring points, just so that the other boys have a fair chance at it. But it's a good day out for us.
Anish Chauhan came in second ahead of Bobby Semo and Samir Han, who was fourth. Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.